The spiritual energy path arranged by Long Luzi was lifted by Lin Dong and slammed into the incoming devouring dragon palm. Although Lin Dong couldn't control the spiritual energy contained within the path itself, he exerted all his strength and managed to lift the tens of thousands of miles long spiritual energy path. Boom! As the spiritual energy path was lifted, the entire dragon space shook violently. A massive rift, spanning tens of thousands of miles, was torn into the ground. At this moment, all the natural and celestial changes were just background. The true destruction occurred only after the collision between the spiritual energy path and the devouring dragon palm. Boom! The inevitable collision between the spiritual energy path and the devouring dragon palm caused immense destruction. Both of these objects, formed purely by condensed spiritual energy, contained all the energy that Long Luzi could muster in this space, and their collision released an unimaginable force. Bang! The instant the two spiritual energy constructs collided, a space within a radius of several 100,000 feet collapsed. As the shockwave spread, Lin Dong, who was near the center, was thrown back. His entire body was struck with tremendous force, causing his meridians to shatter. The pressure that poured down on him caused him to spit out blood. However, Lin Dong was lucky in one regard. The shockwave allowed him to retreat, avoiding being engulfed in the catastrophic collision. Bang! As Lin Dong's figure was swept away by the shockwave, the space collapse caused by the clash of the spiritual energy path and the devouring dragon palm expanded again. This time, the collapse nearly covered half of the dragon space, and cracks in the space appeared in the sky, revealing glimpses of the endless sea beyond. Boom! The space collapse continued. If given enough time, it would likely destroy the entire dragon space. However, just as the collapse reached a span of thousands of miles, a figure shot out from the center of the space. The figure moved at an incredible speed, almost 1,000 miles in an instant. When he reached the epicenter of the collision between the spiritual energy path and the devouring dragon palm, his two palms reached out and slapped directly onto them. Buzz! As the man's palms came down, the spiritual energy path and the devouring dragon palm rapidly weakened, and the energy storm that had swept across the world gradually calmed down. After a few moments, the dragon's space, which had been on the verge of collapse, returned to calm. The terrifying scene just now seemed like an illusion, though the massive crater on the ground remained as evidence of the destruction caused by the collision. The crater, spanning hundreds of thousands of feet, was clearly the result of the earlier collision. Its vastness was so immense that one could not see the other side from the edge. Had Long Luzi not disbanded the spiritual energy path and the devouring dragon palm in time, the size of the crater would have been several times larger. Whoosh! A fierce wind howled out of the crater, stirring up rolling dust. At this moment, not far from the crater's edge, a battered figure lay, and it was none other than Lin Dong, who had narrowly avoided being caught in the destructive shockwave. At this point, Lin Dong's upper garments had been completely torn, and his exposed body was covered in blood. He had even lost both arms. Had it not been for the extreme vitality granted by the life and death ancestral talisman, Lin Dong would have been in mortal danger from the earlier explosion. Truly astonishing vitality, a voice echoed from nearby, and Long Luzi's figure appeared in front of Lin Dong. He looked at Lin Dong, who had lost all strength, with admiration in his eyes. Although Lin Dong had used the spiritual energy path to resist the devouring dragon palm by using his wits, in Long Luzi's view, Lin Dong had still managed to take his first blow. Seeing Long Luzi appear, Lin Dong, struggling with his severely injured body, managed to force himself up from the ground and gave Long Luzi a weak smile. Still, 2 more moves, right? You no longer have any strength, Long Luzi said to Lin Dong. Unless you try. How do you know I have no strength left? Lin Dong gritted his teeth, trying to hold on with sheer willpower. He had never craved strength as much as he did now, and he knew that his actions were becoming irrational. If it were the old him, he would have at least acted within his limits. Did you act like this when you were in the lower dimension? Long Luzi asked Lin Dong. Upon hearing Long Luzi's words, Lin Dong's gaze suddenly became heavy. He did not respond to Long Luzi, but continued to stare at him with an unyielding look in his eyes. Heh, It seems you have a determination that surpasses your own life. Long Luzi remarked with a helpless smile after seeing the unwavering resolve in Lin Dong's expression. He then slowly floated backwards, distancing himself from Lin Dong. The first move represents the full extent of my spiritual energy cultivation. I'll count that as you passing. However, the second move will be the full extent of my physical body cultivation. If you still have other powers after enduring that, then you only need to survive the final move, which will be my highest level of mastery in the Divine Soul. And that will mark the completion of the trial, Long Luzi said, continuing to pull away from Lin Dong. Lin Dong still did not respond to Long Luzi. Perhaps he had expended all his energy in standing up, leaving him unable to speak. However, the resolute expression on his face clearly communicated that he was ready to take the next blow. Long Luzi finally stopped several thousand feet away from Lin Dong. At that moment, the spiritual energy that had been swirling around him suddenly dissipated entirely, as if Long Luzi had never cultivated spiritual energy. However, as the spiritual fluctuations vanished, a different kind of power erupted from within Long Luzi's body. This force caused purple golden dragon scales to appear on his body, and within just a few breaths, Long Luzi had transformed into a humanoid monster covered entirely in purple golden dragon scales. Generally speaking, a divine beast's most powerful form is its true form or original shape. This principle even applies to some advanced dragon clans. All divine beasts that manifest their original form gain at least double, if not more, power compared to their humanoid state. However, there is a significant drawback to transforming into one's true form, a drastic decrease in speed. Yet, in ancient times, as the leader of the alliance between the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans, the Dragon Phoenix Divine Emperor created a state that could maintain a humanoid form while unleashing power equal to, or even surpassing, that of its true form. This technique, recorded in the Dragon Codex, has no name. After his entire body was covered in purple golden dragon scales, Long Luzi took a single step forward. As he did, his figure vanished from its original location, and in the next instant, he appeared right in front of Lin Dong, who hadn't even realized what had happened. Long Luzi didn't use spatial teleportation to reach Lin Dong. His movement was purely the result of his physical speed. Such speed was so fast that even a higher-level Heavenly Supreme would struggle to follow it, and in reality, very few people from ancient times to the present could clearly perceive the speed of this technique from the Dragon Codex. In the instant he arrived before Lin Dong, Long Luzi unleashed his most powerful punch, fueled by his physical body cultivation. Lin Dong hadn't even reacted in time, and he didn't even realize Long Luzi was already before him. By this point, Lin Dong had no chance to see Long Luzi anymore. When Long Luzi's punch, delivered with an incomprehensible speed, struck Lin Dong's body, the rapidly spreading force instantly turned Lin Dong into a mist of blood. There was no ripple in the surrounding space, no damage to the ground, and not even the slightest breeze stirred. Yet, Lin Dong's entire being had been completely reduced to a gaseous blood mist, not leaving even a shred of flesh behind. This place was a chaotic realm with an unknown location. Here, there was no concept of up, down, left, right, front, or back, and even the very concept of time was in doubt. Primordial Divine Ancestor, there's something you need to assist with. A wavering, sound-like fluctuation echoed within the chaos. Ancestor of 10,000 spirits, I have seen clearly. I know what must be done. Another fluctuation responded from within the chaos. The extraterritorial three ancestors truly want to eliminate all seeds in the great thousand worlds, haha. They are definitely going to take action on that grand space this time. Have all three of them arrived? This will be tricky, but this is the alternate space you created. You should have set up some sort of defense, right? Yes. In the dragon's domain, the gaseous blood mist still swirled around Long Luzi, its original owner, Lin Dong, having been destroyed by Long Luzi's punch. In the spot where Lin Dong had once stood, no trace of his physical body remained, not even his divine soul. However, after Long Luzi obliterated Lin Dong's physical body with a single punch, his gaze shifted to scan the surrounding world. His expression grew serious, but there was also an unexpected hint of surprise in it. To possess the heavenly soul at the Earth's supreme level. This is beyond my expectations. Long Luzi said, his tone tinged with surprise as he observed the surrounding world. Buzz. As Long Luzi's words fell, a faint buzzing sound spread through the surrounding space, and at the same time, Lin Dong's voice rang out. There's still one last move, right? A hoarse voice echoed through the air. It was Lin Dong, though he did not appear physically. At this moment, the entire surrounding world became part of his body, a power he had gained after his soul had evolved into the heavenly soul. Had Lin Dong's soul not transformed into the heavenly soul, it would have already been destroyed by Long Luzi's punch. Long Luzi's surprise stemmed from the fact that the heavenly soul was something that could only be obtained after advancing to the heavenly supreme level. Such tricks. Long Luzi shook his head helplessly. Earlier, Lin Dong had used the path of spiritual energy to counter his devouring dragon palm, a bit of a clever tactic. Now, he had abandoned his physical body in favor of his heavenly soul, another trick. However, since Lin Dong survived his two previous moves, Long Luzi knew that Lin Dong had withstood them. After all, he hadn't restricted Lin Dong at the beginning. Then let me see what you can do to handle this next move, Long Luzi said, looking at the surrounding world. He knew that no matter which direction he looked in, he would be able to see Lin Dong, as Lin Dong had already become part of the world itself. After observing the surroundings, Long Luzi used his heavenly soul's perception to determine the range of Lin Dong's heavenly soul. Once he had locked onto this range, Long Luzi slowly floated towards the sky. The final move was Long Luzi's most powerful strike in terms of soul cultivation. To destroy Lin Dong's heavenly soul, he would need to destroy the very world around them. But such a method was not beyond Long Luzi's reach. As Long Luzi floated upwards, a formless consciousness drifted through the void below him. Having lost his physical body, Lin Dong now existed only in this formless state. It was in this form that he was truly unrestrained. However, despite his freedom, he could not foresee Long Luzi's next move. Still, Lin Dong remained resolute. He would not stop here. No matter how terrifying Long Luzi's next attack was, he would face it because in this vast world, there were many people waiting for him to protect them. Long Luzi's drifting form finally stopped tens of thousands of feet above the ground. He looked down at the earth and the enormous pit that stretched for hundreds of thousands of feet. His gaze then fixed on the 1,000-foot radius at the edge of the pit. That was the range where Lin Dong's heavenly soul could merge. Buzz. After locking onto this range, a gray shadow about a yard in size materialized in the void behind Long Luzi. It was a gray bronze bell, covered with numerous strange ancient runes. These runes were chaotic, and just a glance at them could disorient one's mind. Crash. The appearance of the gray bronze bell seemed to disturb something. Although no terrifying waves emanated from the bell, the mere feeling of chaos it caused was enough to alter the very fabric of the world. The sky darkened, and the hurricane on the ground surged. Everything was caused by the bell's appearance. The bell was not from the Great Thousand Worlds. It was an item once wielded by an extraterritorial Saint King who had come to invade the Great Thousand Worlds during the ancient world-ending war. The target of that invasion was none other than the True Dragon Clan. In that war, the Saint King managed to slay the True Dragon Clan's Heavenly Supreme, but he was later suppressed and killed by the Dragon Phoenix Divine Emperor, who arrived at a great cost. After the Saint King's death, his Heavenly Demon Bell fell into the hands of the True Dragon Clan. The Heavenly Demon Bell holds a status among the extraterritorial clans comparable to that of a heavenly artifact in the Great Thousand Worlds. Such an item, filled with malevolent intentions, can be used to attack the souls of powerful beings if someone is capable of activating it, delivering an effect as swift as a knife cutting through tofu. This supreme demonic artifact is able to compensate for the deficiencies of the divine beasts in their mastery of souls, which is why the True Dragon Clan has opted to seal it rather than destroy it. For thousands of years, the True Dragon Clan has been waiting for a genius, a prodigy who could control the Heavenly Demon Bell with their soul mastery. And now, that genius has appeared. Long Luzi. Swish. A bronze bell appeared behind Long Luzi, descending from the sky and enveloping the area below that Long Luzi had previously locked onto. Buzz. The bronze bell expanded rapidly, growing to a massive size of thousands of meters in just a few moments. As the bell grew, it also became transparent. However, this transparency was not ordinary. Rather, it signified that the heavenly demon bell had been modified by the true dragon clan, transforming from a demonic artifact into a heavenly artifact. A heavenly artifact. The bell descended from the sky, completely covering the space where Lin Dong's soul consciousness was interwoven with the world. It first turned blurry, then became transparent, and eventually vanished entirely, having fully merged with the world. Lin Dong, enveloped by the bell, used his heavenly soul consciousness to observe everything around him. Since his soul was already connected to the world, the disappearing heavenly demon bell did not truly vanish in his eyes, but instead took on a different form and enveloped him. From the beginning, Lin Dong had no intention of escaping the bell's influence. He knew he was preparing to face the attack, not evade it. No matter what, this final strike would be something he would have to endure, even at the cost of his life. Meanwhile, Long Luzi, observing the disappearance of the bell that had completely enveloped Lin Dong's soul, began to look more solemn and heavy-hearted. "Brother Lin Dong, you must endure this next strike?" His murmured words clearly conveyed his deep concern for Lin Dong's situation. If Lin Dong could withstand this full-force attack, it would truly be one of the greatest miracles in the history of the Great Thousand Worlds. As Long Luzi's words faded, a demonic symbol appeared on his forehead. It was the key that connected him to the heavenly demon bell. As the symbol emerged, a complex and obscure seal in his hand began to shift. Gurgle. As Long Luzi's hand manipulated the intricate seal, fine tendrils began to emerge from the demonic symbol on his forehead, weaving into his skin. From an outside perspective, it appeared as though a spider had attached itself to his brow. Buzz. The appearance of the tendrils seemed to resonate with the heavenly demon bell below, which had lost its shape. Strange and eerie sound waves began to emanate from the area once enveloped by the bell, and when Lin Dong heard these waves, he felt a momentary distortion in his consciousness. The eerie sound waves enveloped Lin Dong, and at the same time, Long Luzi's deep voice echoed from the sky. "Heavenly demon bell, the morning of 10,000 demons." Long Luzi's calm voice spread through the air, and the heavenly demon bell, resonating with the demonic symbol on his forehead, began to shake. Buzz. The bell did not emit the usual ringing sound, but instead produced an eerie and soul-stirring spatial resonance. This resonance shook the very fabric of the world, creating vibrations so minute that everything in its path seemed on the verge of collapsing. The sky seemed on the verge of disintegrating, the earth about to crumble, and even the void seemed to be collapsing. Had there been any souls or divine consciousnesses present in this area, they would have certainly been shattered by the tremors. The danger was even greater in the area covered by the heavenly demon bell. Buzz. Buzz. When the faint and soul-shaking resonance waves reverberated inside the heavenly demon bell, Lin Dong, who was enveloped within, suddenly changed his expression. Before he could react further, a far more terrifying and ever-strengthening resonance wave struck him, disorienting his heavenly soul consciousness, leaving him unable to distinguish up from down, left from right, or front from back. After that, Lin Dong, who could not struggle in any way, lost his external consciousness in an overwhelming agony. Yes, Lin Dong lost only his external consciousness, while his inner awareness, as if traveling through time and space, was forcefully pulled into another world. No one knew whether this place belonged to an illusionary realm. This place was a world without any clear sense of up or down, enveloped in darkness. Lin Dong's inner consciousness drifted in such a place. Furthermore, Lin Dong now had a complete body, no longer an invisible, intangible drifting consciousness. Lin Dong could feel that his consciousness was fully alert, and he even remembered everything, including the trials he had undergone in the dragon's space. But regarding the trial, Lin Dong only knew that he had been enveloped by Long Luzi in the heavenly demon bell, and after Long Luzi activated the bell, he lost his external consciousness and ended up in this place. Where is this? Lin Dong wondered inwardly, and his mouth spoke the same words. This surprised him, as he clearly knew he had only thought of it and had not intended to say it. Why did I speak what I just thought? Lin Dong was puzzled, but what astounded him further was that this sentence also escaped his mouth. Could it be that thinking and speaking are synchronized here? Lin Dong wondered, and as expected, the words came out of his mouth just as he had thought. It was clear that this was a strange place where thought and speech were one and the same. Are you Xun'er? Just as Lin Dong was discovering the peculiarity of this place, a soft, slightly surprised voice suddenly came from nearby. Is that Mom's voice? Hearing the voice, Lin Dong immediately recognized its owner even before turning around. When he did turn, just as he expected, a familiar figure stood behind him. His mother, Lu Yin. Xun'er, how did you end up in this strange place? Lu Yin looked at him, asking with a puzzled tone, Wait, why is Mom here? Seeing his mother appear, Lin Dong felt warmth, but immediately realized something was wrong. Due to the strange nature of this chaotic space, Lin Dong voiced his doubts, and of course, Lu Yin heard him. Xun'er, I really am your mother. I share your doubts too. I don't know why I am here either, Lu Yin immediately explained upon hearing his suspicion. Your mother? How did you end up here too? Just after Lu Yin spoke, another voice rang out from nearby, and a figure appeared. To Lin Dong's astonishment, it was his father, Lin Xiao. Dad? Lin Dong exclaimed in surprise at the sight of Lin Xiao, and Lu Yin was equally shocked. Big brother is over there. Another shout came, and soon Lin Dong saw two figures flying through the chaotic void toward them. The appearance of these two individuals made Lin Dong's doubts about this place grow even more. The two newcomers were Xiao Yin and Xiao Diao. Then, one after another, more figures emerged from the chaotic void, gathering with Lin Dong and the others. These were all people Lin Dong was familiar with, including Ling Qingzhu, the Lord of Life and Death, and the Flame Lord, among others. What puzzled Lin Dong was that these people were equally surprised by the appearances of the others. While Lin Dong suspected he had entered an illusionary world, everyone else also suspected that they were in such a world. Lin Dong felt that everyone else was an illusion in his mind, and others viewed him as their illusion. The number of people continued to grow, and they were all figures from Lin Dong's memory, some weak, like ordinary people from Qingyang Town, and some powerful, like Qingji. Even enemies Lin Dong had defeated and severely wounded appeared. Lin Dong wondered, could all the people who existed in his memory appear here? Lin Dong gradually moved away from the group of familiar faces. He felt the need to distance himself from these familiar. After retreating 100 zhang, Lin Dong finally began to boldly expose his thoughts. It didn't take long for him to notice something strange. The people who had perished in his memory had not appeared. Lin Langtian hadn't shown up, and those he had killed in the heavenly mystic dimension were absent as well. Even the Devouring Lord, a fallen overlord from the ancient times, was nowhere to be seen. Though Shui Huan didn't appear, Bing Huan, who had reincarnated into the Ice Spirit clan, was present. All those who had appeared were people who existed in Lin Dong's memory and were still alive. This realization made Lin Dong finally confirm his uniqueness in this place. The people who appeared were all alive in his own memory, and there were no living people from anyone else's memory. If all the people were real, how absurd would the number of living individuals in this place be? Lin Dong couldn't even dare to imagine it. Big brother, why did you walk away? After Lin Dong confirmed this fact, a voice came from ahead. Soon, Lin Dong saw hundreds and thousands of people gathered, all rushing towards him. Seeing this, his expression changed. Lin Dong knew that if he got too close to these people, his thoughts would undoubtedly be overheard. As the crowd of familiar faces drew closer, Lin Dong first considered retreating, but then another wild thought sprang to mind. Kill. At that moment, Lin Dong made his decision. He stopped retreating and instead charged towards the crowd. He knew these people couldn't possibly be real, so what they were, he would find out by killing one. Whoosh! Lin Dong's figure shot toward the crowd, and his target was not only acquaintances but the most recent one. The Lord of the Sun God Temple in the Wandering Realm, Sun Elder. As Lin Dong approached, Sun Elder's expression grew grim. Do you want to kill me? Are you sure this isn't an illusion? Sun Elder gritted his teeth. His eyes filled with murderous intent as he unleashed all his power. In response, Lindong also activated his strength. Immediately, a terrifying aura, almost reaching the level of perfected Earth Supreme, erupted from his body, forcing everyone around him to retreat. Lindong was slightly stunned, realizing that he had enough power to do so. He remembered that when he had endured Long Luzi's 3 strikes earlier, he had exhausted all his energy. So how was he able to summon his peak power now? But regardless of the doubts in his heart, Lindong threw a punch at Sun Elder. He believed that after this punch, some of his questions would be answered. Boom! The punch contained an overwhelming power, accompanied by the sound of thunder crackling from it. The force behind it was enough to severely injure someone of Sun Elder's strength. However, just as Lindong threw the punch, a voice suddenly rang in his mind, leaving him momentarily stunned.